Jamie and Jameson Walter, the Great Lakes Surfer Grom. How's it going, fellas? Welcome to Permastoked.
Thanks, Derik.
Hi.
We're going great. How about yourself?
Awesome. I'm doing so good. It's so good to have you guys here. So where am I talking to you two gentlemen from today?
We are in what city, bud?
Michigan.
Oh, that's the state.
Grand Haven.
Grand Haven, Michigan.
How were you lucky enough to be born in Grand Haven, the Great Lakes surfing mecca?
He actually wasn't born here. Where were you born?
Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Okay. So actually a little bit of a country boy at heart.
Yeah, he was born up in the mountains in Wyoming, and
Wow.
I grew up in Grand Haven, and we moved back here, when he was about a year and a half old.
Okay, right on. And how old are you today, Jameson?
9. I had my birthday a few months ago.
Oh, wow, right on. What'd you get for your birthday? A new surfboard?
No.
You think? What'd you get though? You think fun? I don't know.
Any-
I can't remember.
Any
I
surf
mixed
gear?
up.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe you'll remember for next year. No problem. So, did you go out surfing today?
No.
No? When were you guys out last?
We were asked out the last few days.
Like 3 days in a row we went.
Oh, wow.
On Sunday, I gotta go out
that
with a
makes-
friend, and my mom didn't take pictures. The other 2 days, I was out with just my mom and my dad. On Sunday, the waves were big and awesome. Saturday.
Yeah.
I had this really awesome wave when I was going really fast down the face, and I launched and almost had an air.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
also,
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
so Saturday was May 1st. I completed a 2-year streak of surfing at least once every month.
Wow.
And Michigan and on the Great Lakes.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so he at least once a month in Lake Michigan for 2 years straight, 24 months straight, and that was just Saturday. That's May 1st. So he finally checked May off his list. So.
Oh, congratulations. Wow. So 2 years, once a month. And I take it there's some months you probably went quite a few times.
Yeah.
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 Some of those winter ones, I think we barely snuck in. Like this year,
Yeah.
we were watching the weather forecast, and literally it was like waves on like February 1st, February 2nd, and then it was gonna get cold on the February 3rd, like 20 degrees Fahrenheit for like so many days or below, but windy. So I knew that the wind would be blowing the ice in and it'd be freezing up. And then once it freezes over, you don't know how long it's going to stay. So I told him, I said, look, buddy, we've got 1 or 2 days on February 1st or February 2nd. If there's waves, we're going no matter what. And then we don't know how long we'll be iced. So literally we surfed on February 2nd, and it was awesome. It was like, he was like overhead for him.
Yeah.
but and then it froze up literally the next day. And we had been surfing a couple days before where literally we'd have to jump off the icebergs and get in, but literally it wasn't that deep. It was only about like knee deep, but we knew that the ice was coming. So, and then it didn't freeze, it didn't melt in our break here by our house. It didn't melt until almost the end of March. So we he just sneaked in the beginning of February and just got in the end of March. Otherwise the streak would have ended, but.
So what do you do when you can't go surfing? Do you get really sad and bored, or how do you keep yourself busy?
I do homework, but I don't have too much of that.
Well, what do you do for fun though?
What do I do for fun? I read a lot.
You read a lot? Yeah.
He loves to read.
Oh, what are you reading? Any surf books?
I don't really have a book I'm reading right
Okay.
He likes a lot of like what do you call it? What's the genre you like? Stuff with like dragons and wizards and stuff. Like he read all the Harry Potter ones like twice, and then he read these Wings of Fire and then some other Dragon Chronicles or something. I don't know, what are the, is that mystery or not mystery,
Mythical.
mythical or adventure or something?
Oh, very cool. Yeah, like fantasy
But
stuff.
then you also like to do other sports. What other sports? Like when
I-
there's ice and stuff. What do you do in the winter?
Well, I ski a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He started skiing about the same time he started surfing when he was 2. And
Wow.
but what'd you try this year though?
I tried snowboarding at the end of the season.
So-
Yeah, because I thought I saw some pictures of you maybe ramping over your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was on
Wow.
last day of the season. His friends decided they wanted to lay down, and he was jumping over them. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
so next year he said he's going to get a snowboard and try to do. There's a really cool little rope tow in town here that's like all kids and stuff like that, called Mulligan's Hollow, and that place is awesome. It's just all like kids having fun, and a few adults kind of just cruising around, and but it's like open, Saturday and Sunday, and then it's open weeknights as well. So he usually would ski, 4 or 5 days a week last year. So he's like, yeah, if I'm going to ski that many days,
I'm gonna do both.
Do both,
Skiing
so.
and snowboarding.
Wow.
give it a try, see what he likes.
So are you one of those guys who's just good at everything he tries?
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of is sickening. He except for one sport, he sucks at. Which
What's
is what?
that?
Basketball.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Can't be good at everything.
I
It was so funny. Like literally, my wife and I just kind of laugh. Like he tries something and he picks it up really easily. But literally,
Yeah.
he got on a basketball court. It was like literally the ball going everywhere. Like shooting the ball and he couldn't even hit the rim. Sorry, buddy, but it was bad
I can hit the rim now.
now, but not then. Yeah,
So,
that was pretty funny.
so how old were you when you started surfing, Jameson?
I was about
Two?
2.
About 2. I think that
Wow.
when we first moved here, he was a year and a half old, and we moved here like in the fall. And I think it was that next summer when he was like 2 when he first started surfing.
So what does surfing look like for a 2-year-old?
You want to tell him? You tell him like how what you remember?
What
Or
I remember is my dad paddling me into waves on a paddle board, and then
Okay.
holding me and standing me up, and then we'd ride him to shore.
So it was
Okay.
like it was so much more like buoyant and like had more volume than like a longboard. So we would just ditch the paddle. I'd plop him on front of me, like sitting, like crisscross applesauce, and I'd
Okay.
paddle behind him. And then as soon as the wave would take us, I'd kind of hold him up by like the life jacket and kind of stand him on the tip of the board and ride him all the way to shore.
Oh, while you were on the board as well?
Yeah, so we would ride it like
Oh,
tandem.
cool, like a tandem ride.
Yeah, but then how old were you when you first? Like a few years later, that he started riding by himself.
I'd say maybe, I don't know, 5.
Yeah, I think it was about 5. Then
Okay.
Then what did we do then? Did you remember the first time you ever stood up on a board? What was you doing?
I was surfing on my longboard. Our neighbors were having a wedding a big wedding on the beach. And they were
Okay.
all cheering me on when I had my first wave when I stood up. On my
Oh,
own.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's like our neighbor's daughter had a big wedding reception.
yeah.
And so I was out pushing him on his longboard and just these, barely ripples. Enough that the board would actually go. And he was standing up and, just like a starfish,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like riding all the way to shore. And all these people were like on the beach having this reception. We're just cheering him on. It was really, really fun.
Wow. So is that the minute that you got stoked?
You think that was kind of what hooked it for you probably? Like it was like,
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
So you caught your first wave, you were riding it in at the wedding reception. So what was that feeling like that first time you caught a wave by yourself?
Exciting.
Yeah.
Fun.
And now do you have friends at school that surf as well?
I have a couple, some of my best friends
Oh,
surf,
okay.
but not many.
Okay. And so when you tell other kids at school that you surf, do they think that sounds kind of crazy, or do they think it's cool, or what do they think
Yeah,
about
they
that?
think it's cool.
They think it's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, they just did a talent show, but because of
Oh.
COVID, they did a virtual talent show.
Oh, okay.
And so they said, parents and kids can make like videos of their talents. And so we just took a bunch of like clips from him surfing and edited like a little 1-minute video and put some, I don't know, we put some Weezer music, surf wax.
Super cool. Yeah.
Put some music to it. And so, yeah, that was his,
your board. What's it? You take your car to work. I'll ride my board. Yeah, right on.
Yeah, threw that on there. So it was pretty funny. And yeah, so that they played it at his school. Like they've got every morning they've got like a news. Was it?
It's called a Rosie Mountain News.
Rosie Mountain News. So it's like a little news broadcast every morning that they do over their TV system. So every morning they show a couple of different videos of the talent show, and so they showed his on the one day. So
that sounds like the coolest show and tell I've ever heard of.
Pretty cool. Huh?
Yeah.
So are you actually going to school right now, or are you at home? Yeah.
Going to school.
Okay. How are things like over in Michigan? Is everybody still masked and?
Yeah. It's we've got I think as far as in the States right now, we're one of the worst as far as the most cases right now.
Oh, okay.
We were really, really good in the beginning, like everything locked down. And so I don't know if it's a combination of that not a lot of people had exposure and then now they got it, but then also like I think a lot of people in the state have the that UK variant or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So and it's also hitting the kids hard. So he's had nobody in his classroom has had it. But other kids in his school have had it. So that certain classrooms, if somebody gets it, they've got to go. The whole class has to quarantine for 2 weeks. So luckily his class hasn't had to. But they keep them all together and they do class together with masks on. And then when they go outside, they take their masks off and play. But they're not allowed to interact with the other classrooms. They have to just play together. So I mean, it's better than staying at home with mom and dad.
For sure, yeah. So what do you think of all this mask stuff, Jameson? Kind of strange or just
it's pretty strange, but I've gotten used to it. So.
Yeah.
We were down in Florida for spring break because my wife and I both had gotten our vaccines, and so we went down to visit Grandma and Grandpa, and so we were someplace, and I was like, it was like outside, and we weren't around other people, and I was like, Jameson, you can take your mask off. And it was interesting because he was like, I'm like, don't be afraid or anything. He's like, I'm not afraid. I was like, I don't want to be the one kid who gets it in my class, so we all have to go home. He's like, he didn't want to be the
Yeah, you're being pretty responsible young man. Wow. Yeah, I gotta this is the kind of thing where you're not just looking out for yourself, you're sort of looking out for everybody around you too, eh?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, but hey, you got one thing in your life that's really good. Well, a couple things. You got awesome parents, but you also got surfing, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
Could you imagine if you didn't have surfing? I mean,
yeah, last year when they went, because he did go like everybody went virtual the first 2-3 months or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So he was home for 3 months virtual, and I was working from home. My wife was working from home. And we live pretty close to the beach, like like a house away. Like there's a house between us and the lake.
Okay.
And so it was kind of nice because then I could just put my do not disturb on my email, and we would just go out surf if there was a little swell coming in or something. So that was kind of nice thing about him doing virtual when he was. We could kind of surf whenever we wanted. And we actually went up north to my a little ways up north. My parents have a cottage that's on Lake Michigan.
Oh, okay.
And so we did that for 2 or 3 weeks, and he did virtual school up there, and that was great because then we literally could just look out the window and be like, oh yep, there's waves, let's go.
Wow. Okay. You got it good, man. I don't remember getting to go surfing when I was in school, so that is a pretty good perk from this whole COVID thing, actually.
Yeah.
Wow. That is wild. So Jameson, what kind of board are you riding these days?
I've been riding short boards and trick boards.
Yeah, he's got like three performance boards. He's got one that he made with No Coast surfboards here in Grand Rapids.
Oh, okay.
So he got it was really cool. So Ken at No Coast contacted us last year and was like, hey, you think Jameson might want a performance board, a little short board? Because before that he was just riding a foamy. Yeah. And And we were like, yeah, but it'd be really fun for us to kind of learn how to shape it. So Jameson and I actually got to go help shape it. And then we kind of put a pin in it over the winter as far as like glassing and stuff. And then then COVID happened. And so Ken ended up glassing it himself, but we helped kind of do the graphics on it and stuff.
Nice. What'd you put on it?
We just did some pinstripes, some like black pinstripes. And then he designed this cool logo, or I helped him design this cool logo for it and stuff. So we'll show it later. But then it was crazy because then while we were waiting for that to get glassed, then there was the Gadaskus brothers. Well, two of them, Tanner Gadaskus, was doing this crazy thing on Instagram where he was like, "Hey, I've got this super cool CI rocket wide Grom size surfboard I want to give away to the most stoked Grom in the U.S." And just enter your mom and dad and kids make a little video and send in a video. And so we helped him make an edit of a bunch of him surfing, and he sent that in. And so Tanner and his brother Dane picked him to win. So he's got this little Grom size Channel Island rocket wide.
Oh, wow.
And then on top of that, little spoiled guy over here. He doesn't know how good he's got it. Out of the blue, Kevin Schultz sends him a brand new board too last year.
Oh, wow. Man, what a lucky guy.
Yeah, so Kevin went when he was riding for chemistry. He went to chemistry and said, "Hey, I want to make a board pint size for Jameson of the same one I ride." So Jameson's got 3 awesome little boards. They all have a little bit different. One's a pintail, one's squash tail, one's round tail. But they all have a little bit different volume, different size. So he's kind of got them dialed in on when he rides them and stuff. But I always joke, I'm like, dude, you're 9 and you got a way better quiver than I've got. Seriously,
yeah, that's a growing quiver. Wow.
Yeah, and right now he's working on Ken's working on a fun shape, a little bit bigger, kind of a fun shape board that something a little bit more progress that he can progress on.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh.
So, hey, do you know who asked you to be on the show? Someone recommended you be on the show. Do you know who that was?
Kevin.
You got it, Kevin Schultz. He asked for me to have you on the show. That's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too. So, what do you think of Kevin? What does he mean to you in your surfing career?
He's my role model. He's the guy I look up to.
So what is it about Kevin that makes him a good role model for you?
What do you think about how he surfs or who he is as a person? What do you think about?
He's a really nice person just in general. And he's also a great surfer.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys kind of look like brothers.
Jameson's got way longer hair though.
Yeah, the blonde and kind of blue eyes or whatever.
Yeah, he's we can't say enough nice things about Kevin. It's like it was the craziest thing how we kind of connected. It was like I know he came out to Canada before he's been out to Canada a bunch surfing up in Nova Scotia, and he somehow I think got hooked up with I think maybe it was the guys from Surf the Greats. Took him some places, maybe Huron, I think it was, or some places. And Jameson and I saw a video of him, hitting airs like on Lake Huron, and it was insane. And Jameson was like, "Holy cow!" And we didn't really know at that point. We weren't really sure. At that point, Jameson wasn't really like following professional surfing at all. He wasn't really checking things out. And so we were kind of like, "Oh, who's this guy?" Who's this, like Kevin Schultz? And so we like Googled his name, and it's like, yeah, Southern California. We saw the video of him doing a backflip in the wave pool. Yeah. And so Jameson decided he was going to write him a letter. So he got out a piece of paper, wrote out like, "Hey, Kevin Schultz, I think you're awesome. You're incredible at airs. Can you like give me some pointers at getting airs on the Great Lakes?" And so this was like a Friday night. I don't remember, like we were just like home on a Friday night. And so he wrote this, and I took a screenshot with it. And I messaged him on Instagram, and it was like, I was like, "Oh, we'll take a stab in the dark. Maybe I'll hear back from him, maybe not." And it was like, and he like literally wrote me back, or wrote back in like 10 minutes or half hour or whatever. And, hey, it's Friday night, I'm out with friends, but I'll, this is awesome. I'll totally, so like the next morning in the inbox on Instagram, there was like a message, like handwritten out from Kevin saying, hey, Jameson, this is awesome. This is what you want to do. Like, it seems like the second wave of the sets in the Great Lakes is the best. Look for the second one, paddle as hard as you can, get as much speed as you can, and then just launch it. Something like that.
Yeah.
And so then ever since then, they follow each other on Instagram and they communicate and every now and then they'll FaceTime each other or Jameson will send Kevin like little videos and say, hey, any pointers you got on this and any tips? And so then they'll FaceTime and Kevin will be like, okay, what if you move your arm like this or rotate like this? So it's really crazy.
That is rad. So you are a fan, but he is also a fan of you. I mean, that is cool.
Yep. So it's pretty amazing. Hopefully, they've never met in person, but we keep on talking about Kevin coming back to the Great Lakes and surfing, or us going out to California and surfing with him. So
I have a feeling you guys will make that happen. He's a pretty accessible guy. So
yeah, he is, like I said, by far just the nicest, most genuine human being, and on top of being just a phenomenal surfer. He just is so nice.
Yeah, he's a pretty great dude. So what kind of advice did he give you, Jameson, for hitting those airs?
My dad already said most of it.
Okay.
But yeah, go fast. Go as fast as you can. Just hit it, launch, and then turn your board. And then when you land, try and go down the face.
Oh, okay. So where's your air game at currently? Is it coming along?
He has first. Well, so last year we were surfing these crazy wedges down by the rock pile, which is the pier in Grand Haven. And so we were kind of just off the rock pile, right where they kind of get this reform. And he was surfing these crazy wedges, and he literally was just launching, and literally the board would go one direction, he go the other. That was his kind of first experience, being above the lip. And then like he just mentioned on Saturday, he was just screaming down the face. So usually I'm usually out in the water with him, and then his mom is either in the water, usually with us, either videotaping in the water or she's on shore shooting. So if it's a really big wave, after he takes off, if it's a small wave, I can see his little head kind of going on the wave. Yeah. But on a big wave, he's gone. And so literally he went down a big wave, and I could kind of see him pumping every now and then. I could see his head, and he just was all of a sudden screaming, and then he just launched, and I saw the board turn sideways. So I think the tail of the board was just barely still touching the lip, and he didn't quite land it. He landed on the board, but it was sideways, and then he fell. But that was by far the closest he ever got. I'm sitting there going, yeah.
So you were super close. Yeah. Kevin told me that the trick to learning aerials is you got to get comfortable with missing a lot of waves.
Yeah.
Because you're out there, you're trying to do the airs, you're going to watch a lot of good ones go by. So
yeah, looking for the air ones. So yeah, we talk about looking for the sections when you're going down the face of the wave. You're looking ahead and say, okay, is that a air section, or is that a spray, or is that a floater? So, but the biggest thing right now is really just the timing. At his age and stuff, it's okay, he sees something and he knows what he wants to do, but then between the brain and the body doing it, it doesn't always.
Okay, gotcha.
So
So I love that a chest high wave for us is what? Probably shoulder height for you, Jameson? Overhead?
he's only about 4.5 feet tall. So.
Okay, because those waves, they look really big next to him, right? But
yeah, and then he squats down a little bit.
Sometimes they're 6 feet or more.
Yeah, he's definitely been in some ones that have been overhead. Probably would even be shoulder high or head high for me. He's got some pretty big surf.
So do you ever get scared out there, Jameson, or how do you feel with the conditions?
Sometimes on big ones, I kind of back out.
Okay.
Because I think it's gonna close out or something. So I don't go because I'm worried.
Yeah.
He's had a couple big wipeouts and stuff, pretty typical all of us.
Yeah.
But a couple times where it's like I'm with him and like there'll be a good wave coming and he'll be like, no. I'm like, dude, you can do it. And then every now and then when he gets one of those big ones, then he's like, okay, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So how did the whole Instagram thing come about?
so this was like, just, it kind of like blew up and was kind of crazy. It wasn't like anything that was intentional at all. Like, so like most people, so I'm mid 40s, and like most people in their like 40s and stuff, they're all like Facebook, and nobody like, most people do Facebook and not Instagram at my age, and the kids do Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
And so like I'd always just done Facebook as a way to keep in contact with my college friends and show them what, my family's doing and see what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so as he started like surfing and stuff like that, like I would be posting his surfing stuff, and all my friends like, oh, that's super cool, whatever. And then I started thinking about the real reason I liked Facebook was 'cause I could go back and those time hop things where it shows you the history. Like I like go back like looking at like old stuff and almost treating it like a virtual or digital like photo album.
Yeah, which we don't really keep anymore. So
exactly, nobody keeps a photo album. So I'm like, this is how I go back and look at old photos and say, oh yeah, on this date a year ago I was doing this and stuff. Yeah. And so I was like, as he was getting older and I was posting more and more of his stuff, I was like, well, when he gets older, he's gonna want to like look back at his stuff, but then he's gonna have to go to my Facebook account to look at his stuff. So then I was like, it really makes more sense for him to have like his own Facebook account where he can like have his own like photo album. And then I started like talking to my nieces and nephews and stuff, and they're like, oh, Facebook is like old person stuff, like go to Instagram. so then I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll try Instagram because that seems like it's what kids are doing, and I wanted it to last as long as possible. Yeah. So if you actually go to his Instagram page and literally look at like the first like 60 photos or 30 photos or whatever, they're literally all posted on the exact same day. Because I went back and I took a bunch of like old stuff from like when he was like a baby surfing like at the beach. I literally took all his old stuff and literally posted it like one after the other. And then it was like, so that way it kind of like started him at when he was the first surfing. And then when we got to like, current time, then it was like, as he did something cool, we would, post on it. It's mostly surfing. There's some like skiing and other stuff on there. Yeah. But, it started off, like I said, just as a virtual thing to have a place that he could look. But then it was crazy because like literally within a couple of weeks or a month, like people were like, like on Facebook, you have to request to have a friend. On Instagram, you just follow. So I'm like, okay,
it's different. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, people are following my, at that time, 7-year-old kid on Instagram looking at his surfing stuff. And it ended up being mostly like other surfers on the Great Lakes or like kid surfers from like all over the world were following him. And so then we were like, oh, this is kind of cool. So then he started following back and started like seeing what other kids were doing around the world and then started following other like Great Lakes surfers. And we were like, oh, wow, I didn't know they surfed there. Or wow, look at the waves to that place. That's insane. So it was really kind of cool. Like, we just kind of by accident kind of discovered this whole Great Lakes. Like we knew that like the Grand Haven surfing community and stuff like that, but we didn't really know how far and how many other Great Lakes surfers there were until like it's just started blowing up on Instagram. So it's really kind of cool. So now it's like, we talk to people like you and we're like, hey, let's go surf there, or let's go over and surf, Lake Erie, or let's go surf that. We haven't had a chance to do it yet, but like it's stuff we'd like to do.
So at what point did you realize like, hey, this isn't just our own little personal thing, like this is really catching the attention of others?
Probably about the time when it was like all these other people started following him. Like I think like when it was Great Lakes, it was one thing, but then because that was like really cool because for me personally, I was like growing up a Great Lakes surfer myself, but not really leaving the Grand Haven bubble too far. Other than a few trips like over to Sheboygan and stuff. Like I really hadn't gotten out of the bubble. So to me to see all this other stuff and be like, oh, that's a cool place. We could take a road trip and go surf there. Like that for me personally was cool. But then the stuff that was kind of mind blowing was like, like he's got like these little girls from like Spain that follow him. And like there's a little boy from Japan. And there's like these kids from South Africa and Australia following him, and kids from Hawaii and like all over the world, like these other little kids that are his age that they follow each other. And that those kids think that what he's surfing on the Great Lakes is cool. That's kind of like, it's like, wow, this is kind of amazing.
Wow, yeah, it really is.
And
So-
that's funny. And then
Sorry,
they
go ahead.
they communicate and it's like, so he's gotten like invitations like, hey, if you guys ever want to take a spring break or a road trip and go, you know, out to California and come surf with us, or hey, if you're in this place, come surf with us. So it's like, now he's kind of got these little connections, or we have these little connections where if we
Yeah.
wanted to surf someplace, it's kind of like we're not going in blind. We've got, you know, somebody kind of give us a little locals perspective or stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. So where did the name Great Lakes Surfer Grom come from?
that was just kind of like, again, I when I did look into Instagram,
Mhm.
everybody, at least that I was looking at, had screen names. They weren't using their
Okay.
names.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay, well, this is really going to be about surfing. It wasn't about skiing. It was about surfing. And he's a Grom, and he surfs on the Great Lakes. So it was like Great Lake Surf Grom. So it was
Perfect.
like,
Yeah. It's so catchy too.
yeah. Well, at some point he's not going to be a Grom, so then he'll
Yeah.
have to figure out if he wants to change it or something. But
So are you ever, Jameson, are you ever out at the surf break or out and about and somebody recognizes you and says, hey, that's the Great Lakes Surfer Grom? Yeah?
yeah, he's been a few places where people recognize him, and I always just kind of laugh, and
Yeah.
he gets a little embarrassed sometimes and stuff, but he kind of, you know, waves and stuff. It's usually a couple times happened at a couple surf shops, or sometimes like when we're getting dressed at the like if when we don't surf at home but we go to like a break or something.
Yeah.
People recognize him. So
So
kinda
you got
fun.
this really cool Instagram channel. Lots of people are following it. What do you hope to do with it, Jameson? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish with your Instagram feed and your surfing? Or you just want to have fun?
I don't, you know, to be honest with you, I think I'll answer the Instagram part. Like
Yeah.
that to me is just more just like fun, you know, like if he meets people and we learn about like cool breaks that we can like go, that he can go like surf at and stuff, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But
So just continue connecting
Yeah.
with people and really getting more involved in the community. That's awesome.
yeah,
Because
And
the
then as far
photos
as,
are, you know, the photos as a viewer, they're just really inspiring and fun and uplifting. And it's great watching you. I think, you know, like your dad, I grew up surfing the Great Lakes. So to see somebody sort of like a second generation of a Great Lakes surfer, it's so awesome to see the stoke is just like pouring out of you, man. It's like you were born in a bowl of stoke.
yeah, thanks mom for all the pictures. So he had one guy, this awesome guy who lives up north from us, who said, hey, I want to take some pictures. And so he shot some of Jameson, I think a year and a half ago. A couple sessions came out and did it. But otherwise, you know, 99.9% of all the videos and photos his mom takes. So she's the one behind the camera, like in the cold, either in the water with us or on shore, freezing her butt off.
So she has learned how to become a surf photographer, basically.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's always kind of like, she's one of those people who has this amazing artistic talent, but never realized it until like recently. Like she got her first like camera phone and started taking photography with her camera phone. It was like taking these amazing shots with a camera phone, and then kind of started getting into it a little bit. And yeah, so then we bought a GoPro, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna get in the water with it, because the first few shots she actually had her iPhone and was like in the water, like okay, I'm gonna try not to drop this in the water while I'm shooting him.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's got a really good eye.
So are you confident enough, Jameson, to surf right up to your mom and then just turn right before her?
Yeah, I think it's hilarious.
Wow.
He's almost hit her like 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
Where he literally is like right at her and like just turns at the last second. So
Gotcha. So it's become a bit of a prank for you then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we actually posted a few photos where he's like going by her and just like laughing, just like it makes me kind of nervous because I know how much that would hurt, and so
yeah, really.
Yeah. But yeah, we've actually gotten her out on a few waves. She's a former snowboarder when we lived out west.
Okay.
And so we get her up on a few waves every now and then. But she just really likes the photography part of it.
Oh, that's amazing. So what other waves have you been to, Jameson, other than your Grand Haven break?
Been up and down the west coast of Michigan, but that's about it. We haven't
Okay.
gone that.
We went.
Have you-
He's
Oh,
gone
you
as far
haven't
as-
surfed? Have you surfed the ocean yet?
No.
No, yeah, that's right. You told me this. Yeah, that's right. You haven't. Oh, okay, great.
He's
So that'll be a big thing.
He's gone as far south as St. Joe, and then as far
Okay.
north as just like Montague area. That's as far north he's
Okay.
been. You know, hopefully he'll be able to get out on the rest of the Great Lakes and explore more of Michigan this summer.
Yeah.
Hopefully travel will be a little bit easier, and then when things open up a little bit more in Canada, get over and surf with you guys and other places in Canada and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to have the Great Lakes Surfer Grom up in Canada.
Yeah, and then then the ocean. We've been trying to get down to the ocean. We've been trying to do like a family trip down to like Costa Rica
Yeah.
and do like a family surf down there and get mom in the water and do that. But that kind of again got pushed off. And then some of the other friends that he's made, you know, maybe go out and visit some friends in California or New Jersey or other cool places.
Yeah. So
And
what
then
are some dream waves you want to get to, Jameson?
California, the Great Lakes.
Well, but is there certain breaks though, or like where's Kevin surfing all the
I
time?
want to go to
Lower Trestles.
Lower
Yeah.
Trestles, yeah.
Yeah, he wants to surf Lower Trestles, and then you see what's some other waves you like to watch on videos? Any other places, or that you play on your game that you want to go check out?
I want to go to the Margaret River that I play on my.
So he's got one of those.
surfing
We got one of those surfing games that have you ever seen that? What is that? Real Surf or what is it called?
True surf.
True Surf. Have you ever
True
played
Surf?
this?
Okay. No,
True
no.
Surf. True Surf is like a video game.
Okay.
And so it actually has like real breaks that you can go.
Oh,
And so
okay.
he loves surfing Margaret River on this
And pipeline.
and pipelines. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I was going to ask you
I
about
think-
pipeline. Yeah.
I think he set his bar a little high, but we'll
Okay.
see.
Might be a little while till you get the pipeline.
Yeah. And then where's some of the other places you?
Wave pool. I
Wave-
really want to surf.
He really wants to go check out a wave pool
Yeah.
someday.
So you know what you need to do? You need to really train yourself so you can show Kevin up on that stab high wave.
Heck yeah. I don't know. Every time Kevin posts something, it's like even more insane than the last thing he did. So
Yeah, you have to really figure out a special move. So, so Great Lakes surfing. Now, do you think that you're going to get into any competitions or anything like that eventually?
I don't really have any over
No.
here.
Okay.
do you guys have any over there? Because really around Lake Michigan, there really hasn't been any, at least for a while.
Yeah, like I know the Dairyland Classic doesn't happen anymore. And the Great Lakes Surf Festival, I know you're wearing that shirt. Do they have a competitive element to that?
No, well,
Okay.
they do a competitive like paddleboard race as part of it, but it's
Okay.
more of like a information like people like learning to surf or learning to paddleboard. They do like a yoga, they do some
Yeah.
kite surfing. It's kind of like an introduction to everything like water sports.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when I grew up, we had like a chapter of the ESA. So I
Yeah.
would compete in like the ESA, like bodyboarding, skimboarding, surfing, all the different divisions I would compete in. But that, is long gone.
Okay.
So yeah, I think, if there ever was anything around the Great Lakes that was a competition, I'm sure he would probably be up for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've even thought about like if we go sometime down to like Florida to visit Grandma and Grandpa. I mean, they
Yeah.
literally, we see stuff about all these little kids in Florida. They have like competitions like every single weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
throw the boards in and go try it out.
Well, I will let you know if something comes up because I'd love to see you in a Great Lakes competition. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Matt Smolensky, and yeah, those were pretty normative. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It sucks to
Yeah.
hear that doesn't happen anymore.
No, yeah, he's a few years younger than me, but like we grew up around the corner from each other. So
Yeah.
I used to go watch his dad surf and stuff when I was growing up, and then
Okay.
I got older and Matt would watch me surf and stuff like that. So it's
Right on.
kind of that change.
Well, I gotta say, I've seen lots of pictures of Matt and and the Doc and some of the other guys at the rock pile. So to see Jameson at the rock pile, surfing off that pure bounce wave, that was pretty rad, because I know that's no easy wave, I've been told.
No, he hasn't gotten like right up next to the rock pile
Oh,
yet.
okay.
He hasn't jumped off the pier yet. He's gotten, the one day when he was hitting those wedges, we were probably, I don't know, maybe like 50 meters away, 75 meters away from the actual edge of the pier. Is that what?
When we were surfing.
Oh yeah, so yeah, there was one day when we were pretty close. We were maybe only like 10, 20 meters from the pier, and it was like, no, you think closer or farther?
Like maybe closer to 20 feet.
Okay, so he thinks it was pretty close. But so the pier in Grand Haven, they were doing they were fixing it. The Army Corps of Engineers were fixing the water or fixing the pier. So they took there's the iconic cat boardwalk that's on top of it that lights up.
Okay.
They took that all off, and then they raised enough money to put the catwalk back on and then put the lights on it. So they had this really cool lighting of the pier ceremony 2 summers ago.
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember which, if it was Doc or some of the other guys were like sending out these Facebook posts like, hey, any surfers that want to come on down to the pier. I don't know if there's gonna be waves. If not, we're gonna do a paddle out. If there are, we're gonna surf, during the lighting of the pier.
Oh, cool.
So we're like, sweet, let's go. So we went down there, and it ended up just being these tiny little waves, and there was about a half a dozen guys out there. And they were on longboards riding, but he was able to ride them because they're Grom-sized waves.
Yeah.
So he's riding these tiny little waves, and it's a beautiful sunset, and there's literally like hundreds, if not 1,000 people on the beach watching. And then as the sun's going down, they turn the lights on the pier, and then they start fireworks going off. So he's like surfing like with the fireworks going off and stuff like that. And
that must have been a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, that was definitely pretty cool and stuff. And people were everyone was kind of cheering on and yeah.
So Jameson, what's the biggest wave you think you've been on? If you had to guess.
Overhead?
Yeah, probably overhead, maybe over Dad's head.
Maybe,
wow.
Probably overhead for me. So 6 foot, so 2 meters.
And have you gotten right in the tube before?
Yeah, I have, but I jumped off.
Okay, yeah, sorry, you're right. He started getting tubed on a closeout, and he freaked out and jumped off. So yeah, you're right. I wouldn't necessarily call that a tube because you didn't ride out of it. So you got, but it's funny.
Wow.
Yeah, it was funny. My wife was saying, yeah, I think he got covered up on that one, and we went back and looked at the photos that she took, and sure enough, he's like literally tucking in, and it's coming in, and just as it's breaking over the top of him, you see him like he goes one way and the board goes the other way, and I'm like, what did you do? That's where you were exactly where you wanted to be. He goes, I got scared.
Wow. So Jamie, how does this compare to, taking your kid down to the baseball diamonds on the weekend?
This is way more fun for me. Yeah. It's,
I don't even play baseball.
No, but
the American pastime is baseball, but you found the real cool activity. Yeah.
Because it's my favorite thing to do as far as all the sports I've ever played. I mean, I've skied, played, American football, basketball, volleyball, rugby. You name it. I've pretty much tried almost every sport. But this is the one that I've always just gravitated and given me the most pleasure out of doing. So I hope I didn't really push him too much in the beginning. I think when he was young, we really wanted. I don't think we really were trying to push him into anything. I think we were trying to expose him to as many water activities as possible. Because living in Grand Haven, it's a water community, beach community, and I wanted him to be familiar and safe and comfortable in the water. Yeah. So it was like paddle boarding, swimming, bodyboarding, skimboarding, surfing. Anything that we could do in the water, we exposed him to, so that way there was a comfort level that he was never afraid of or that he felt safe in. And I I'm glad that he gravitated towards surfing, and that, you know, I kind of gave him a little nudge. It was like, hey, this is kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah. So what was that feeling like when you saw him surf for the first time or really embrace the sport?
I think like the first time, like when he had those first waves by himself, when he was talking about that wedding party with my background, like that, I was just kind of like, this is so cool. Like he's riding waves by himself. But then as he started transitioning from that, just that big board where you're just like pushing him and he's going straight and not doing anything. And when he started transitioning to like a short board, and he was like able to like turn it and go down the line and start actually doing stuff intentionally, like that was like really, really cool to see that. And then to see him like be enthusiastic about it. Like when he was like, I want to go do this, or I want to go do that, or I'm like, hey, let's go surfing today. Sweet, that sounds great. You know, getting used to the cold water, I think took a little bit of time. I think there's some times when we were like, hey, let's go surfing today. And he's like, yeah, it's too cold, Dad. And I'm like, come on, buddy, let's go do it. Like, so now I think he's getting a lot more used to the cold water. But for a while there, it was like, cold water, Dad? I don't know about that.
So if your dad gets an ice beard, do you ever get ice hair, or do you got it all tucked in?
It's all tucked in. He gets the icicles like on his like chin, like
Wetsuit.
on the wetsuit, or off of like the zippers and stuff like that.
So how do you feel about winter surfing now? Are you happy? Are you fine with it now, or are there still days that are a little too cold for you?
There's still days that are cold, but I still go. Though I sometimes get really cold.
Yeah, so those sessions are shorter.
Okay.
Definitely. It's funny. His like on the days that his mom's is photographing from shore, she'll kind of like keep like not a stopwatch, but she'll kind of have like a timer on her phone or something. So, because when we're out there, we're just kind of like surfing and having fun and not really thinking so much about the cold. And so she'll be like, we've got like hand signals and stuff that's like time to come in. Like he's been out there long enough. So, I'm a lot bigger guy, so I've got some more body heat than he does.
So if he started surfing when he was 2 and you're 11 now, when did nine? Sorry.
Yeah.
When did the skill really show up? Like, I'm just curious from a standpoint of, you know, I'm not a dad yet, but I'm watching you and I'm thinking, I want to do this exact same thing and somehow do it. That it's not like the whole Tiger Woods thing. You want to do it like you, where they really embrace it and love it, right?
Probably around 7 or 8.
Yeah, okay.
That late?
Yeah.
I was going to say a little bit earlier, to be honest.
No.
I think when you first got a shortboard was when you first started.
No, when I got my shortboard, I was going straight a lot.
Yeah.
But then when I got the Channel Island, that's when I really started.
Okay. When he first got on like a fiberglass board and he was able to start like doing even more, because even though he's got like one of those little Wave Bandit like foam ones, which is a great kid board and stuff, and he can actually turn that pretty well, but because of the rail is kind of chunky, like he would have to like grab a rail and kind of like pull it to kind of get it. Like if he wanted to go like down the line like really tight, he'd be like leaning over and grabbing the rail and turning, which, you know, it worked out just fine. But yeah, once he started getting onto, you know, different hard boards and performance boards, then he was really just able to start progressing and stuff.
Okay. So. And is it hard to find wetsuits for him?
Yeah, it's like it's almost impossible.
Wow.
I mean, and especially also with you know, with the pandemic, everybody's buying every single piece of outdoor equipment they can. So it's like, yeah, not too many brands make kids wetsuits, and if they do, not too many of them make like winter wetsuits. So the first winter he surfed, up until about December, we actually were layering 2 wetsuits on top of each other. He would wear like a 2mm like spring suit, like shorty, underneath like a 4mm full suit, and then we'd have a hood tucked in, and so that he was getting cold because he was getting flushed, and it was hard to move around. So I remember when we first got him his first like 5mm hooded suit, and it was like literally the only one we could find, only brand, only size, like, and luckily it fit him. And that was like a game changer because now the flushing didn't happen as much, and he could move around better. His feet would still get kind of cold. So then we figured out that he's got like 5 mil boots that on the really cold days, he wears like a 1 millimeter like knee-high sock, and then like a 3 millimeter short sock, and then his 5 millimeter boots over on top of that. So he's got, what is that? 9 millimeters on his feet.
Wow.
But usually it's his face that's exposed to like the wind, or his feet are usually what gets the coldest. You know, his hands aren't too bad because he's got mittens on, so they can kind of stay pretty warm. But it's his face. When his face gets wet, and then the wind just whips in his face. Because, you know, I mean, Great Lake surfing, how many days do you actually get to surf when the wind's dead? And maybe there's that one day where it's like blowing all day, and then the wind dies, and then you've got like an hour of really, really good surf. But otherwise, you got wind, and it's like whipping in the face and stuff. So,
yeah, a few days I went to go surfing, but honestly, I don't even know what you call what I was doing. It was more like being blown around on the beach while holding a longboard. I felt like one of those weather vanes. Like the winds were just crazy here on the weekend.
oh yeah, definitely.
So that's a pretty cool math equations to figure out for a kid. Like if you're wearing a 2 mil booty with a 3 mil booty over it, how much mils is your booty?
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
But now that he's getting bigger, now hopefully the size is going to be a little bit easier, but still it's a challenge. The hardest is really, the wetsuits are really hard to find thicker, but the boots and the gloves and the mittens are like next to impossible. I mean, literally next to impossible. Like his mittens are adult, extra small, and they're a little bit big on him, but yeah, the boots.
I was gonna say, yeah, is it women's or something? Like
yeah, so it's like a it's like a youth / women's extra small glove or mitten. So
wow.
So when he grows out of those things, I'm hoping that I can find stuff that's the next, because I still feel like he's going to be just shy of getting into like what you would think of like the typical Grom size, which is our, a little bit bigger kid.
It'll take you a while till you fit into dad's stuff anyway, I think so.
Yeah.
So Jameson, what kind of advice do you have for any other kids who want to start surfing on the Great Lakes?
It might be hard at first, but keep going.
Okay.
Because it gets a lot funner, and yeah.
What about like any time of the year or board?
You probably want to go in summer when it's warm on small waves with a longboard or a fun board.
To try it out, see if you like it first, right? Yeah.
No, being cold and falling sucks.
Mm.
So anytime any of my friends say, I want to take my kid surfing, or any of his kids from school, like the parents will be like, hey, we want to go too. Like I always tell them, like, if you want a kid to like something, set them up for success the first few times they do it. If they try something the first time and they're flailing and they're uncomfortable and they're cold and it sucks, they're not going to want to do it. But if you're like, hey, it's summertime, it's warm, they want to be in the water, you go out on some small waves with a big board where you're literally just pushing them and they're riding all the way to the shore and they're like, I surfed. Like that's rewarding. So it's like that's the way to start it.
Well, and I guess at that age and that size, you don't have to wait for the fall or winter. Like you guys are the perfect size for these summer waves.
Yeah. Some of the waves that he gets in the summertime are just these like perfect little swells that just kind of come in, and I'm like, I can maybe ride him on a longboard and he's just ripping down, carving turns and stuff.
Wow, absolutely incredible. Yeah. So your advice to other surfers is just take it slow and don't give up. Yeah, it's not easy at first.
No, I think kids that do other board sports, it definitely helps. If they skateboard or snowboard or do other things, or paddleboard even. The balance is probably the hardest thing. Because a lot of you stand on that board and it wants to tip. So the bigger the board, the more stable it is.
Yeah. So Dad, where would you like to see surfing take Jameson, or how do you what do you want to see him do with surfing in his life?
Where would I like to see him go is just really wherever he wants to go with surfing.
Yeah.
I want surfing to help him get to where he wants to go, not stop him from where he would want to go. Like, so if he says, hey, I would love to, move somewhere where it's warmer and I can surf year round, and, because I want to surf year round in Southern California or, Puerto Rico or something, who knows, whoever he'd want to go. Like, if he wants to move somewhere, then awesome, that's great. If he's like, hey, you know what, I love surfing and I love being around other surfers, maybe I want to be in a job that has something to do with the surf industry, shaper or a designer or, working in the surf industry, maybe that would be cool.
Wow.
He keeps on saying that he wants to, be pro someday. And I said, well, you gotta start practicing real hard if you want to be a pro surfer someday.
So yeah, that's a good question. What do you want to be when you grow up? Pro surfer, you said?
Yeah, I want to go on WSL.
To
Nice.
be on the World Surfing League.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see a Great Lakes surfer Grom make it to the world tour for sure.
So I got a lot of practicing before then, maybe enter a few practices. But yeah, so wherever it takes them, that's awesome. I mean, just But at the very least, surfing is one of those things that it makes people happy. I mean, you talk to anybody who's like surfed their whole life, or somebody who surfed once, and they're like, wow, the stoke is amazing, and you just feel it. And so for him to be able to do that the rest of it, to love a sport that you can literally do your entire life. I mean, you look at some people who are really into a sport and like their bodies give out or they can't compete after a certain age. Like, no, surfing you can do forever. So I'm just excited that he's passionate about something that really he could enjoy for the rest of his life.
Absolutely, yeah. So Jameson, do you feel like your parents gave you a gift by getting you into surfing?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, pretty lucky, eh? Like, they could have just as easily got you into gymnastics or something, but they they showed you surfing.
We actually had him do gymnastics when he was like 4 or 5 years old. And tell you what, that's actually a great way to get kids like balance.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah,
like he did a couple sessions, like, so each session was a couple months long. I think he did like 2 or 3 sessions of gymnastics, and then he did some of those what are those ninja course things where they like hang things. He did some of those, and then he also did some karate lessons or something like that. But all those things when he was really little were a great way to kind of help build coordination and balance. So yeah, absolutely. The more sports, the better.
It all contributes. Wow, makes you a better surfer doing all those different things.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Jamie, your overall impression of introducing the younger Groms into Great Lakes surfing?
I think it's great. I think when I was a kid, there was just a handful of my friends, when we were, all about preteens, maybe late 10, 11, 12 preteen, when we all kind of started getting into surfing. Obviously Smolinski got into it younger because of his dad, but the rest of us who didn't have surfing parents, we got into it about that age, so there wasn't a lot of kids. And now it's like you go out there and it's like I run into other parents and like, oh yeah, I want my kid to try it out. Or we go out there, we see other kids. It's awesome. He loves going out and surfing with other kids and seeing what they're doing and talking to each other and hanging out. The more the merrier. I think it's only going to help our sport and help the Great Lakes out.
It has been so awesome to have you here. I've been stoked to have you on. I think I feel more stoked since having you on, and you've just sort of given more of that to me and got me all excited, even more excited to go surfing. So thank you for doing that, Jameson. You got anything you want to promote or plug before we go? Where can people connect with you online? How do they find you on Instagram?
Just search Great Lakes Surf Grom.
So it's at Great Lakes Surf Grom, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So is that So Greatlakes. Is there two S's for lakes and surf, Grom? Okay. So
No, Great Lakes Surf Grom. Yep.
Okay, Great Lakes Surf Grom. Find him on Instagram. Again, like I said, I've loved having you on the show, and I can't wait to get out in the water together and go surfing. When I come to Grand Haven, I'll definitely be looking for you guys. And if you ever come up to Canada to go surfing, let me know. I'd love to take you out on our beautiful Lake Huron or out at Lake Ontario, Toronto. There's some really good surf out there. Yeah. But in the meantime, guys, stay stoked.